First, I'm going to talk about the Block Party paper, then move into the other ones. And to say that one of the things, news coverage of matters of the European Union has a real influence on attitudes toward it. That studies have said when coverage tends to be very positive, that increases people's support for the EU. On the other hand, when coverage is either kind of mixed, when you have less coverage, then there's less of an effect on public opinion. And I will say a lot of my work, this work is going to be based on work both on De Vries and Boomgarden, and then Boomgarden and Associates. Particularly Boomgarden and Associates really looked at news consumption and how it affected attitudes toward Europe. They developed 5 dimensions of European attitudes. And, but they focused on traditional media. They did their study in the Netherlands. We used Eurobarometer data, and we really focused in on online news consumption. So I think it was more of building upon the work that they already did. So we really looked at a series of 7 research questions, and we kind of tried to organize them here. First, we looked at the relationship between political knowledge and attitude, our 5 attitudes, dimensions of European attitudes. Then we looked at the effect of getting news at institutional and official websites, news on informational websites, and that's traditional media websites, online social networks, blogs, video hosting sites, and we added political discussions. And so we looked at the effects of each of the media on each of the 5 dimensions. And again, our independent variables were, again, ones that looked at and asked kind of which online activities did you use to get news about the European political matters, and these were dichotomous measures, use it or not use it. So what did we find? We did find that political knowledge was our best supporter, and it related to 3 of our measures: the strengthening feeling, positive feelings of efficacy, and the feeling that the EU fosters as beneficial. When it came to our actual online media, none predicted more than 2 EU attitudes. I mean, social networks is positively associated with the idea of strengthening and performance. Blog use negatively predicted efficacy and led to increased fear. Political discussion had a positive, was loaded with predicted efficacy, but it also led to an increase in fear. And then there are other measures: institutional websites, informational websites, and video hosting websites didn't work for the countries as a whole. I will say we also analyzed countries individually, and don't have those. I'm not going to present those results specifically, but I will talk about them when it comes to the conclusions. And so we were particularly surprised. Again, informational websites weren't used, and particularly, and also institutional websites. Although we do find these are used among particularly some of the established democracies in individual countries. So, what do we conclude? One of the things clearly that political knowledge is a positive thing for strengthening feelings of efficacy, and the view that EU foster is a positive. It's the cost outweigh the benefits. And again, past studies of political knowledge and EU had found mixed results. Some have said the more you know about the EU, the less threatening it'll appear. Others have said the more you know about EU, kind of the more you say, this doesn't, it's not working how it should be, and so it's not matching my expectations. And so the fact that we found 3 positive ones tended to support more the view of the more you know, the less threatening. Our results for blogs wasn't all that surprising. I mean, past studies have found first that it can reduce trust and confidence in government, that it has a highly uncivil tone, and because of that, that it often polarizes people. And so, again, we weren't shocked about that. Again, we were pleased with the positive results for social media, but it's in line with the idea that kind of the major political role that social media has is connect users with political actors, connect people with other people who are politically interested. And again, there's been a lot of evidence in Europe that government agencies have relied more on social media, particularly Facebook and Twitter, to try to both increase political participation, increase perceptions of transparency, to seek public feedback, with the hope that that will improve perceptions of the government and increase trust in the government. And so certainly that the government has, not only do people rely on social media, so does the government. And again, we did look at, this were kind of overall results. We did look at individual countries, and we found some more individual differences. We did find, for the more established democracies, like United Kingdom, Germany, and Sweden, that institutional and informational websites did play a larger role in the attitudes toward EU than in the less established. And ones like Greece, Romania, and Czechoslovakia, blogs, social networks, and video sites had a larger influence, mainly negative influence on attitudes, while these had a positive. Our second paper was democratic deficit. We looked at the interrelationship between current judgments and future judgments, and looking at its influence on national and EU satisfaction. And we did this for each of the media. So we did this 5 times. So among television users, what is the relationship? Among press users, what's the relationship? And we found out, actually, again, this was structural equation modeling using Amos.
Yes.
Yeah. So really, if you want to have results, thank goodness Joseph is here. But we did find pretty strong relationships. As we'll talk about, television seems to score highest on all these. We do find some differences. Scores tend to be higher for current judgments about EU than we did for future judgments. And so briefly, our results say that, again, we do find that economic perceptions are significant predictors of democratic satisfaction, and that is particularly true among TV users, print also, smallest for internet users. And some of the conclusions we reached, I mean, again, certainly we support past studies that have found that support for democracy depends, past studies have found that support for democracy depends less on the national economy status than on one's own economic status. And one weakness of our study is we didn't include individual status. Those measures were in there. Why didn't we include them? I have no idea. As I said, I wasn't. And again, our study does find that that certainly we do find that really national success does make a difference, and that again we found out that we found out both judgments of how your economy in your country and the EU is performing now, predictions of how it will perform in the future, are linked to both support for democracy and EU and the country. And this kind of partially supports some research by, good Lord, Rohrschneider and Lovelace. Am I anywhere close? I apologize for them. Who normally find out in poorer countries, citizens generalize their personal and economic situations to the EU level, and because their country things are kind of sucky, they assume that that's true at the EU. Then it usually finds that affluent, really the richest countries, tend to use look at their country compared to EU and find it doesn't match up. So most studies usually find it's kind of the not the wealthiest countries, but some of the ones that are in between. And we tend to find actually more of a, so others kind of find more, not a linear relationship, more of a curvilinear relationship. We find much more of a curvilinear relationship here. We thought certainly that press use would lead to democratic satisfaction, and we did find that was the case. We were a little surprised that television was strong because, again, a lot of studies have said television isn't a good predictor of democratic values. But I will say, again, when we looked at, from our going back to our previous studies, we found that among established democracies, online traditional media use was positively linked to EU attitudes. And I think that was part of our results here. And let's see, how am I doing? Still got a couple minutes. Again, we also found, we did find significant relationship among internet users, but not as strong. And I think part of it, and in general, there's a part with measurement. Internet use is a very broad measure. And when we talk about internet use, you don't know if people are talking about institutional websites, if they're talking about blogs. And so I think part of the, and we did find different results depending on different media. So it may be one of the reasons why our internet results aren't as strong as it could be, because we had such weak measures. And so again, you have to dance with the one who brought you.